I was just typing, Chris, we're glad you're here with the Monday bunch. Good morning. Welcome, Sonder family. It's a marvelous Monday because we are together and you have carved out this time to be intentional with your journal to make sure that you've got your week mapped out to its max so that you have the most purpose filled week of the summer. Let's do it. Let's do it this week. So glad to see y'all. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. A little, well, kind of, it's not really that little, but the city of Garland. I live kind of on the east side of the Dallas area, and I'm like blocks from Dallas. So I probably do more business in Dallas than Garland. But my grandbabies are, 3 miles down the road in Dallas. So, yeah, so you've got Team Jennifer on the call this morning. Jennifer Krippner. Good morning, Jennifer. She's popping on the camera, giving y'all a wave. She's coming to us from Minnesota. They're expecting some storms today, so we hope that y'all all stay safe. And also, Minnesotans, you are in our hearts and prayers. Just know that, your Sonder family's thinking about what your state is going through, really what we are all going through right now. So sorry that you experienced the terrible grief that occurred a couple of days ago. Anyhow, we are glad that everybody is here this morning. Our little quote, you're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry. Don't worry. Be sure to stop and smell the flowers along the way. That can be part of our purpose today too. Hey Brittany, you're coming from my old area. 5 years ago, that's where I lived. I did invite y'all to turn to that page 39, your currently page, and share something from it. What are you loving or what are you currently wishing or currently reading? Drop that in the chat. If you haven't done this page, this is the perfect week to do it. We're kind of that midway through June, but this reflection can be done anytime. I like this page too. Some folks will take a line a week and do like a weekly check-in, like they have their week 1 under their belt and they'll do a reflection on this whole page, and then week 2 and then week 3 um at the end of the week. So that's a great uh way to use this page, but it's also a great page to turn to if you're having a not so great day, and just it helps you kind of reset where your focus is to go through those questions. I was saying I'm currently loving, my husband and I are binging The Pit, and oh my goodness, ER hospital workers. Oh, it's just amazing. So highly recommend. It is a little bit gory, but woo, what? Yeah, Amy, right? Such good television. Um so yeah, and it harkens me back to the days of young Noah Wiley on ER that I never missed. Anyhow, we've got some fun things going on in y'all's lives. So thank you for dropping that in the chat because that may have get us inspired. Yeah, what are you reading? Love that. Alrighty, so I think it's important to do those monthly check-ins with ourselves, kind of mid-month, but also save that currently page for maybe a rough day when you need to reset. We always share these, our community guidelines, when we are together. So if this is your first time, drop a me in the chat so we can give you a welcome. This Monday bunch, right? We kind of know we know each other. We're pretty consistent. So we're glad to welcome anybody who's here for the first time. The main thing is always be good and gentle to yourself while we're working through any prompts, anything in our journal. Sometimes we can get a little deep. The weekly setups though are a little bit lighter, but it is a reminder that we want to take good care of ourselves. Oh, we got a birthday. Happy birthday, Brittany. Um, Oh, I love that you went to Six Flags. Just having some fun and putting some play in your life. That's important. Any other birthdays? Put your birthday in the chat. Let us wish you happy birthday, community. And of course, we are looking at our purpose. Um, Love this. You are what you believe yourself to be. And I've been sharing this all month because it really is, it starts with us, who we are to be and what our purpose is. It doesn't get defined by anybody else. We get to do it. Love, oh, we've got some teachers joining us this morning. I love that. You're on summer break. So y'all have been to these before. You know, we're going to work on that mind map. If you are here for the very first time, that mind map is that deeper dig into our journal through different lenses each month. This is that bonus prompt for hanging out with your community. We'll do the rosebud thorn reflection, and then I've got weekly setup examples to show you. You may already know what you're doing. This is just that appointment that you keep with yourself, but I'll have some examples from y'all to share. So your mind map, we are going to be working on week 3. We just finished, that midpoint of the month, and I have really loved, I set my mind map up this month. I do it on the last page because it's super easy to find that last page in a quick hurry. I put those acrostic words for my purpose acrostic poem in the middle, and have been kind of using those to inspire my responses this month. But you can do this anywhere in your journal. Oh, Becca, let's go back. There is, you are what you believe yourself to be. And that is by Paulo Coelho. I don't know how to say his name, but he's written a lot of, he's a wonderful author. So I've read several of his books. So if you're looking for like journey books, oh, so wonderful. Okay. So your mind map can go anywhere you want it to go. You can do it week to week. You can do it on one page. You can put it in that scratch pad, notes, just wherever you want to do. And this week we are on week 3. And I love this question. Think of a time when you felt truly cared for or held by yourself, like when you were true to yourself and you felt so empowered, or by others in a certain environment, a community. How could you recreate that feeling for yourself or others? And so we're going to, oh, thank you, Radhika. Yeah, I had my Camp Grand Happy last week, so I wasn't at last Monday's social. I'm glad to be here. So some things you can consider while this is a very personal response, right? You know when those times were in your life. Think about the rituals or traditions that make you feel connected, right? How do you feel connected for your people? Who are your people? What elements of those experiences felt most meaningful? You can think about the small acts of kindness that you do toward yourself that maybe had a really big impact on how you felt. Y'all have heard me talk ad nauseum about exploring the theme of indulgence in my life several years ago, and how meaningful that was to me. And there was a mindset change, as a 50 something year old, late 50s. That was real important to dig into taking care of myself and treating myself. And that was kind of the small acts of kindness. It was a big game changer for me, made a big impact. And then maybe a small step you can take this week. So you maybe flip to that week and find a way to cultivate more of that energy into your week. So I've got about 5 minutes for you to consider this. I've got 5 minutes worth of music. So as things are coming up for you, maybe share in the chat, because you might have somebody, like, oh, yeah, I forgot about when I had an interaction like that. You might spur someone else on. And also, this is just tapping into those really good vibes that we all need right now. So share as you're comfortable, and then we'll get on with the rest of our setup. Thank you all for being those of you who shared in the chat. Some of those things that you shared, I know were tough from your heart, Jennifer. We're thinking about you as you remember your dad. And when you shared that in the chat, I thought, this last part of our prompt this week is how can you recreate that feeling, not only for yourself, but for others. And I know that he left a beautiful legacy in you because of how he made you feel. And you are going to be able to keep that alive because he's in your heart and you're going to share that with so many people. Um, I just, I love prompts like this when we share. It just fills me, and very selfishly, I appreciate y'all just sharing some of those moments. And some of them were just very small, little, like a text. Someone sent you a text. And man, we can take that away, and perhaps our challenge is actually what can we do for someone else? Um, you know, we're different kind of people here in Sonder Club, and we get a lot from giving to others. We pay attention to how that makes us feel. So, um, thanks y'all for sharing. That was a beautiful time of reflection. So I'll invite you to turn to page 44, which is the rosebud thorn page from our last week. And of course, the rose is the things that, are going well, that you're proud of, something that made you smile, just fun little moments. These can be very small reflection bits. You don't have to get super duper deep here. It can be as simple as, I woke up without an alarm clock, if that's something that made you smile. The bud is what are you looking forward to? The things that are kind of, coming up. What could you try? Maybe thinking about something like that. And then the thorn. Those are just those tough things of life. And we all have about, I was sitting doing my reflection. I thought I really didn't have thorns last week. Um, which was kind of neat. And then I thought, no, there's always a little something because life is full of those, ups and downs and balances. So for me, my rose was my camp grand happy. I had my kids, my grandkids, for the majority of last week, which is why I wasn't on last Monday morning in any capacity. But it was just a great week, and we are exhausted. But oh my goodness, just love that time. Our bud is we have the end of the week. We are traveling for our family trip. That's what we're doing. And I always say it's a difference. Family trip and vacations are different, right? So we'll be with the kids heading to Florida so they can put their toes in some sand. So I won't be here next Monday morning. And then my thorn was when I started thinking about it, we did have a lot of unexpected expenses because, as you know, we've all had weather across the United States, and our weather finally did our roof in this go round. And so we had to get a new roof, and so there's a blessing in that, but just the expenses or not fun. So that was mine. But all is great. I'm feeling pretty good these days. I would like to put on a little music while you work on yours, and feel free to share in the chat. Yeah, like Becca said, deep clean the living room. There's so much power in feeling like, look what I did in that reset. So yeah, and Ronica says, send some of that motivation. Becca, do it, put it out there. And then we will come back and finish up with get going with our weekly setup after we do our rosebud thorn reflection over our past week. kind of laughing at a couple of the thorns, but not in a mean way. Annalisa, Nathania, sharing just about, as grown adults and still living under like this idea with your parents, right? Like they, you know, they want to control and that kind of thing. And you're you're like, I am a grown-up person. Why am I having to deal with this? Thank you for sharing that. I just thought, "Oh my gosh, yes, I totally get that." I still get the guilted feelings from, my almost 84-year-old mom. It's like, "Mom." And then it's like, "Okay, boundaries, mental health, my journal," but it just doesn't go away. Oh my goodness, y'all. So yeah. Yeah, so thank you for for doing that reflection. It really does help us find the gratitude in the moments of the week that we were given and helps us what do we want to take forward and what do we want to leave behind. So I appreciate y'all sharing and taking a moment to work on that. So I don't want to forget to invite you to share your weekly setup this morning in Sonder Club or a portion of it. We facilitators can grab ideas when we see them posted, and then we can throw them in our slide decks when we're with you, so that we can share those ideas with all. So I'll thank you ahead of time for doing that. And we are going to get going now with our weekly setup. Now, you're always invited to use your pages just as they are printed. I do have lots of repurposing ideas for you, though. If you want to, consider a different way of setting that up. And please, as I'm talking and sharing, if you do things that are different from what's printed, share that in the chat, how it's working for you. I used to run a school, and our mantra a lot of times, make it till you make it. So we're going to all say together, I love Mondays. We love Mondays. We love the new start. We love the chance to set a new tone for the week, and it's just a great day to be alive. So let's dig into our new week. I'll show this graphic again when we work on the next page, but here are some fun things that are happening. Those national and international days of. Um, you can see somebody's used their meal plan to incorporate that into their journal. And then I mentioned probably about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, it's kind of fun to perhaps give yourself a weekly challenge. We were just talking about that deep decluttering of the living room. Maybe you have a declutter challenge this week, or it's a no alcohol week, or it's a make your coffee at home week. Is there some kind of challenge that you can do for yourself that you can incorporate somewhere in your setup, right? I'll go back through all of these graphics as well, so you can grab a screenshot if you see something that speaks to you. This is just a fun way to kind of incorporate a little bit of alliteration with our days, just to make our days a little more fun, a little more funner. Who doesn't need a magical Monday? A thinking Thursday. So again, I'll share this again. I'll go back through all these slides. If you want to kind of frame out your week, add a little bit of play. If you can't get to Six Flags, this is kind of a fun way to play with your days, kind of give those days a theme. Yeah, chocolate eclair day and onion ring day, right? Here's a couple of examples from y'all. Full pages set up. You can see they look different. That's always our reminder. Y'all know that. You take what you need in Sonder Club. Feel free to, copy anything. I love the one on the left because, that little calendar that's up there in the corner, they decided to use this as an extra space just by, putting a sticker on top of that. So that's a great repurpose of that little upper left corner. If you're not using that calendar for anything, just turn it into another space by adding a sticker there. We've got the goals and to-dos for the one on the right are all linked in together. They're all tied together. So the three major goals are there, and then you see how those goals are going to happen. Yeah, Marie, I thought so too. I thought it was a really great way to repurpose that little calendar space on your page if you need more in that weekly setup there. The one on the left, they're tracking three things. The one on the right, they filled out all those lines, that permission to take what you need for that. So I love show and tell, right? I love to look at these pages and see how people have set this up. So we're going to start off by thinking about how do we want to feel this week? What is that feeling that we want to take through the week? Just a reminder, you are as amazing as a dress with pockets. So maybe that's how you want to feel, as amazing as a dress with pockets. There's a bunch of words. I'm going to invite you now to just drop in the chat where you are landing. Perhaps it's your word of the year. Perhaps you are using our theme of the month and you want to feel purposeful. Nathaniel says centered, a dress with pockets is heavenly for sure. You want to feel clarity, Chris. Renewed, empowered. I just kind of I need that productivity, right? I put everything off. I didn't even do my journal last week having those kids, and we've got a big week ahead getting ready. So I really want to be productive, purposeful, energetic, accomplished. I love these words. Calm and in control. I probably need to add calm to my productive. So thanks for dropping that one in there. Chill. Just relaxed and chilled. Align. All right, so we're going to take these words now and put them into our goals and our to-dos for the week. Again, you are invited to, take what you need. So go check. We're kind of middle of the month now. So go take a quick look at your stop, start, and continue box. I want to remind you to use that tool because you took time to set that up. So how is that going? Have you started the things you wanted to do? Have you stopped the things you wanted to do? Maybe that gets worked into your goals or to-dos or even your habits this week. Also that intentions page. How are those intentions that you set up resonating as we are sitting here halfway through the month? And just that reminder to give yourself permission to change up. 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, when we set up our month, we had this idea, but maybe life has brought you something else. So maybe you're looking at that big habit tracker wheel and you're like, I'm not getting them done. It's okay to stop and go put something else there. Change that habit up. Because you're getting data, right? When you're looking and reflecting and you're taking what you need for your life. Maybe there's something outstanding that needs to come into this week, some no goals. And then I have that whole little box over there of the categories that a lot of us like to use. So we'll just take like three topics and we plug in a goal to fit under any of those categories. Don't worry, I will come back to this slide so that you can look at that if you need that. You forgot your word of the year, Kelly. It might be okay. New mid-year set point. Choose something to finish strong. Your halfway word. Um, and then just again, some examples from y'all that have been collected so that you can see. I like I want to point out the one that's kind of lower middle where there are three major goals are kind of a daily goal, and then it's a reflection. What do I want to do early in the day, every day? What do I want to do midday? And how do I want to spend my evening? And so those consistent things that'll happen every day this week. But I love how that's divided up into early, midday, evening. So like that little daily reflection there. Again, you'll see lots of categories here. Some more ideas. I've thrown this one on the left in before because it's that little accountability tracker so that you are being intentional. This could also maybe tie into that intentions page. And then you can repurpose this space. If you're not feeling goals, perhaps you turn this into values. There's an example there, the major values that you want to have for your week. Perhaps routines go there, like the example you see on the upper right. Maybe you need a box of what do you need more of this week and less of this week. If you repurpose this space, drop that in the chat. Celeste, glad you're here, even though, yeah, you're on vacation mode. We're glad you're here. Jennifer will drop our mind map question in the chat for you, Celeste, so that you can grab that and work on your mind map for week 3. And then the one over there on the bottom right, a fresh perspective on my past and a renewed hope for my future is how they want to feel. And then they just did 2 quotes, one about perspective and one about hope. So it's really whatever you need for the week. And then we take that and we inform our to-do list, right, for the week based on what our goals are. Or your to-do list can just stand alone. I always, I am very guilty of doing stuff, that to-do list mentality, and then going back. I've done it. I put it on my to-do list and I mark it off. If you put wake up and, drink coffee, drink tea, drink water on yours, you got 2 things done today. So celebrate that. Here's some great examples of taking those goals and informing your to-dos. With that, you can see how folks have set that up. Here is a great idea for a really big list, is to break it down into the things that you really need to do, the things that you want to do, and then, your hope to do list. Or you take a lot of things and you plug it into the Eisenhower matrix, which we always shout out to. We love the Eisenhower matrix for a really long to-do list because it does help us prioritize. I've told you many times I'm very guilty of doing the not important and not urgent things, and if I'm left to my own devices. And so this helps us kind of stay accountable to that. And then I wanted to address this. We had this in a daily ritual either last month or month before, the Zeigarnik effect. And Jennifer's going to drop a link there to a Psychology Today article about this effect. But what it is, it's basically our brains tend to focus on the undones instead of the dones. Instead of all the things that you've put your effort into and accomplished, you can do many things and you're still laying awake thinking of all the things you didn't get to. And so this Russian psychologist, she came up with, she studied this and came up with that this is a real thing. And so I want to remind you that, especially this month, we have this great to-do list. So make sure you're doing your to-dos, your reflections over all the little things. We may think, I didn't get anything done today. But did you maybe text somebody and check in with them? Did there are all these subtle things that you did do, and make sure that you're giving yourself credit for that stuff. That I think a to-do list is really great. And I actually, um, have been trying to do a to-do list, and I didn't do my journal much last week, but the week, like, I've been doing my to-do list just as my daily reflection on all these little subtle things that weren't really on a list, but that I got done. And it was stuff like, I cut up potatoes for tomorrow's breakfast. I folded my daughter's clothes. She's staying with us, and it's, just a reminder, you did get a lot of things done. So there's that. Now we're going to drop down and look at that habit and activity tracker, and perhaps some of the stuff that you're thinking about for your goals and to-dos can actually show up in this tracker. Now, the monthly one is for all the things we want to do most days of the week, of the month. We want to see that 30 something times happening, hopefully. That reminder, if you're looking at it now and it's not happening, change that habit so that you can set yourself up for success. It's okay to change mid-month. But this weekly tracker can be changed up depending on what your week is bringing you. So you may have more activities here rather than habits. So just that reminder and that monthly habit tracker. Maybe there's a habit on there you're not hitting like you'd like to, and you don't want to change it up. You want that habit to be there. Perhaps you duplicate it in your weekly habit tracker so you're seeing it twice, and that might drive that habit to fruition. James Clear, who we love, the author of Atomic Habits, Great book if you're working on habits. Um, he says, set yourself up, make it so easy that you can't say no. So if you kind of have a little bit lower stakes in your habit, it's if it's easy and you're going to be more consistent. If it's hard, you may be inconsistent. So just that visual to say maybe, that data, why that's happening. Got some great examples from Sonder family. This one that's on the upper left, I love this because one of their habits is feed my soul. And then they have many different ways they're doing that. And they're color coding and they're just making a little stripe within their tracker when that happens. I thought that was a really great idea. I love the idea of using those little circles that way. The one over on the upper right, no goals are set, no certain numbers, but they're tracking and they've circled some days they really want something to happen. So their greens are going to happen on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The one at the bottom, just that reminder, I think maybe somebody's going on vacation, so they are not tracking on those days. They're giving themselves permission to skip those days there. And then I have shared this one before, the bottom left. You can see one of their goals was to build systems in their life, rhythms and routine. And so they are actually using this whole tracker this week for their evening systems, for that ritual and routine. So you can really kind of make a theme for your tracker if that's something that you might be working on. And then, of course, the one at the bottom right, I circle that one. You've seen it before. It's that reminder to habit stack. Take two things you want to do and put them together. The thing that you really, like I listen to audiobooks all the time. I need to pair my chores, like only listen to audiobooks when I'm doing my chores because then I might actually get my chores done. Some ideas for some habits if you need some rest. That is from our Silk and Sonder Instagram page. You can also gamify your goals and do something 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love that idea. And then there's some great habit tracker ideas. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to work on this whole page. And I'm going to go back to those first slides, run through. If you see something you like, feel free to grab that screenshot and then share anything you do, to set this page up, to repurpose, maybe what your goals are this week, what you've been thinking, what you're working on, how are you tying that into your intentions. Just share all those things because you'll inspire one another. Okay, so hopefully we are mostly set up on this page. You can continue doing that. Rachel, I am going to colorful background day of the week words. I I'm not sure if it shows up again. I'll do that when we start working on page 2. I'll go back, and if I forget, tell me if I get distracted, because that's kind of way up at the front of the setup, but, I will come back to that. Okay, so let's look at this page 2. Now, this is the one that we tend to repurpose a whole lot. You can use your meal plan as a meal plan, when, like you see the one on the left, and, I just, the glimmers for the one on the right, instead of doing meal plan, paying attention to those things, those little moments that you stop and notice, right? Those glimmers. That's so good for your brain to do that. You can see that there, the shopping list for the one on the right. What am I going to, the no's? That's like saying those no goals. What are you putting boundaries? What kind of boundaries are you putting in place? So I love that focus of what do I need to, stop doing? That could be informed by that stop, start, and continue box that we set up at the beginning of the month. Of course, this is not exhaustive. You've seen this list before if you've been to my setup. Grab a screenshot of that. I always talk about my garden tracker. I have a garden tracker right now. It's gardening season. It turns into something else once it gets too hot for anything to grow or too cold. There's some great ways that people, utilize these spaces for different things. And, maybe your meal planner, you just put your main meal in one of the smaller spaces and repurpose your regular, your meal plan for, for a journaling prompt or something like that. We're going to take a look at some of these things. There is that weekly challenge uh, list again, and then ways that we can celebrate our week. There some, the meal plan. There's an example of doing like the meal plan in the mind body health space, right? It's like the main meal of the day, and then that frees up your meal plan for another reflection. And then we've got, kind of the tracker over on the right. What did you eat? What did you drink? So being very intentional with that. Here are some repurposed meal plans for y'all to look at. The one on the right we've seen before, but I think it's a good one to bring back every now and then, is tracking energy. If that was something that maybe you set up as something to be paying attention to at the front end of the month. And they've used their mind body health plan as like where the scale is. So, the 5 4 3 2 1, and then they're going to check in with self, utilizing that little box with those numbers in there. It helps them be aware of their energy level. We've got, a cleaning list, a reflections. I love that one over on the right, that little mini journal prompt each day. Maybe it's just your to-do list or your appointments. Go there. And I love to shout out to the water droplets for more than just water droplets. There's 8 of these. Perhaps you're doing an hourly check-in for something. Maybe you check in with your mood, right? On the hour, and you track that with these water droplets. And then you can go and look at that mood tracker that you have at the front of the journal. So just remember that there are other things you can do with those the hydration drops, if you will. Um, the Mind Body Health Plan. Let's look at that space. This is again, so many different things can go in this space. I call it my selfish space. This is where I do the things for me. Sometimes it's fun stuff, like I'm gonna paint my fingernails. Sometimes it's doing the budget, but it makes me feel good to have those grown-up self-care things done. So here's some suggestions for shaping that box. We've got, some great ideas. The one on the upper left is actually made a little check-in chart so that they can track those things. Maybe this becomes your doodle space. Again, appointments. And then the shopping list can be used as a shopping list. Maybe you divide it up into what you need. But a lot of repurposing, and again, share in the chat how you're repurpose if you repurpose. We love the how do I feel, what do I need reflection, perhaps a quote. Maybe it's an unshopping list. This one always makes me laugh. Stay out of the dollar store. I need to do that. I I can spend more money in a dollar store quicker than anybody. Maybe it's your doodle space, or what are you watching, reading, and listening? So, what kind of media are you taking in? That cognizance of what you're doing. And finally, I am loving. How are you loving yourself? So let's take a few moments to work on this page, and please share in the chat how you repurpose. Before I go through all of these slides, I'll go all the way back to that fun alliteration day chart. So grab a screenshot of that if that's something you want. And we'll just work on this page and then we'll come back and finish up. I really love I think I need to quit saying I call my mind, body, health my selfish space, and I think I need to change that to my treats. That's a better word to frame that out. So thank you for that. The chat's been gold this morning. Thank you for just being part of community and supporting one another and being there for each other. Again, a reminder, share in Sonder Club. That's we would love to see any part of your setup. Just a reminder of the AI life coach experience. If you haven't checked that out, we want to make sure that you've had some opportunities to do so. Jennifer's going to be dropping a lot of links in the chat for being able to access this social as well as probably 1,000 by now. There's so many socials. But really, glad that you guys joined us this morning. I won't be around next week, so I'll miss y'all. But make sure that you keep that appointment to set up so that you're ready for a really, really good week. There's our playlist from this morning. I'm on Spotify and I make a list for every single theme that we do. So if you want to follow me on Spotify, there's the link for that. And it's just going to be a really good week. We're almost to the midpoint of 2025, if you can believe it. So give yourself some, big pats on the back. You're doing it. You're working on making your life the best it can be. Thanks for joining us, Sonder family. See you next time.
I drive a beat up car, a caravan, the color blue. Reminds me of your eyes and all the places we've been to. We're tethered to the leather, searching for a better view. It's interstellar when it's me and you. We're taking off. We're taking off. This is what I live for, baby. You're my open road. You can take me anywhere, the wind blows right into the great unknown. We can throw our hands up out the window. This is what we live for. We look up at the stars, a perfect night to dream with you. Got 90s retro on the radio, our favorite tune.